Hello, I'm back from a well-needed rest. I'm very happy to be here today. I'm going to be talking about the week of March 13th through March 19th. And I'm changing the structure of my podcast, or if you catch this on YouTube, I'm going to start talking about the mood of the week, starting from Moon Day, which is Monday, and ending on Sunday, which is the Sun's Day. And that's the structure I'm going to stick with for the rest of the year. Now, if we look at this graphic, we start off the week on the 13th of March with the moon in Scorpio. And then 20 minutes into the day, it changes into Sagittarius. So we have just a very small 20-minute window where the moon is in Scorpio. Then it goes into Sagittarius around 12:20 a.m. PST on Monday. Shortly after that, the moon makes a square to Saturn in Pisces. Remember, Saturn shifted to Pisces last week, and he's currently transiting 0 degree with 40 minutes of Pisces. So as soon as the moon goes into the sign of Sagittarius, around 1:33 a.m., so about an hour and a few minutes later, it makes a square to Saturn. And this is stabilizing. The square is tension, but it's in a mutable sign. So it is needing change, needing to explore things from a different perspective, and also to go within, because the energy of Pisces is going to be so different from the energy of Aquarius for the expression of Saturn. Pisces rules the oceans, and according to scientists, we haven't even reached the depths of the ocean. So just imagine that when we're looking at the archetype of Pisces, it's going really, really deep. So any square to Saturn in Pisces or any opposition to Saturn in Pisces is going to be boundless. And that is something that Saturn is not used to or doesn't naturally express, because it is a planet that likes to have boundaries. So it does play with the structure and the ability to form healthy boundaries. But in order for us to do that, we have to realize that our boundaries are being broken, right? So it's not something that comes into our awareness unless we need it to. So we start with that mood. Then from there, on Tuesday, when the moon's solidly in the sign of Sagittarius, it forms the last quarter moon. And this is mutable energy, right? We started with fixed Scorpio, decided maintaining energy as the mood of the week. Then we go into Sagittarius, where it wants us to explore other things, to think outside of the box, to take a leap, take a chance, be more adventurous. And this quarter moon is super important because on this day, we also have Neptune forming a square with Mars. And it's at 25 degrees with 5 minutes. And the last quarter moon in Sagittarius is at 24 degrees and 13 minutes. This is forming a T-square. And the release point is going to be Virgo between 23 to 25 degrees. And what does that mean? So whenever we see a T-square in the chart, that means that there is one planet in the middle of two planets that are exactly 180 degrees apart from each other, give or take a few degrees. So in this case, we have Mars in Gemini, and Mars is squaring, making a 90-degree aspect, a square to Neptune. But then the moon travels to 24 degrees in Sagittarius, which then forms an opposition to Mars and a square to Neptune at the same time. And this is going to really shake things up because it forms this tension point of an aspect of a square and an aspect of an opposition. So it's two squares in an opposition. And these communications, we call it a T-square, are, just imagine like if you have an itch and you need to scratch your back. You can't reach it. You're like trying every single thing to get to that itch. Well, that's really what a T-square is. It's the need to address something, yet there is conflict or some sort of blockage to address it immediately and get immediate gratification or satisfaction. We actually have to do some work, and that's where the tension forms. That's when the tension lies, because at that point, we are doing some work and discovering something from the experience, right? Like, it's not easy, it's bothersome, or it's hurting us, etc. I'm using an example of scratching your back, but it could be something more emotional or more action oriented. And in general, when we have a T-square, we look at the opposite point of the planet that is getting the squares. In this case, it's Neptune. And then the opposition point of Neptune would be Virgo. There's nothing in Virgo other than Lilith, but she's not close enough. So if you have planets between these degrees, and I'll give you an orb of like 19 to 30, that's giving you a very large orb. But because Neptune is involved, it's very boundless. We also have Mercury at 23 degrees, very close. So it's kind of expanding this orb a little more for us. And this is why I'm giving you such a large orb, because of Neptune also being in the conjunction. Shortly after, he'll form a conjunction to the sun. But yes. So look at your Virgo house and see if you have any planets between those degrees, because you're going to feel some activation with that planet. This can be through agitation, through things that come up in the household or your well-being, things like that. And you're going to be asked to take action of some sort. Now, on this same day, when the moon goes at 24 degrees, a little bit after that, she conjuncts the galactic center. So it's also going to be a very out there day, like bizarre, out of this world, epiphanies, synchronicities, like numbers galore. Yeah, it's just going to be out there. So prepare for that as well. And the reason I'm saying this is because we have the moon channeling the energy of the galactic center, but at the same time, we have Neptune, the sun, and Mercury making an aspect to the galactic center through a square at the same time that the moon's there. And then we have those same planets making an aspect to Mars, which is opposing the galactic center. So there is a lot of energy, a lot of confusion, and really this could be a better day for true meditation, like staying at home and just making it a relax and chill day. Still with purpose. There's a lot of things that we can do to change our habits and enrich our meditation and mindfulness practice, right? So you can still make good of the aspects, but it's really not going to be the day that you're going to be out and about running all sorts of errands, because you're going to see the world's going to be a little wonky. And because of the way that this is set up, even Mercury is still agitating these points after, because Mercury's at 23 degrees. This means he's going to move to 25 in the future right? So Mercury is still going to be agitating, and Mercury is he's known for retrograding and causing all these hiccups and commotions and mishaps when he retrogrades. So you're in the sign of Pisces, he's also not in good dignity. He's actually seeing with his eyes closed, so like blindfolded. So a lot of mistakes can happen, a lot of accidents, and it could be minor from, I've done this. I pay for a drink and I go to the drive-thru to get my coffee and I pay, and then I start driving off and I'm like, oop, I caught myself and I have to get back in line or get off and pick it up. Yeah, little tiny things like that. Like your mind is not going to be very, very sharp. So be extremely careful, very cautious, do things slower. It's just going to be a Tai Chi, Qigong type of day where you're moving with purpose and you're harnessing the energy and just making everything more slow, like slow it down, even though the world seems like everything's kind of speeding up and not necessarily running and flowing nicely. There's gonna be like things in the air and like all these mistakes, but then it happens to just work somehow. So keep this day in mind, because again, there's a lot of things going on. So I suggest you mark your calendar, and this is Tuesday, which is Mars Day. So that's another thing. Take your actions very purposeful, plan them out, and you'll be okay. But Mars definitely is not in good dignity here. He is going out with a bang as he then starts to clear his retrograde path. So this is the third square and the last to Neptune, and the last two squares that Mars did with Neptune, they were very, on a very small level. I felt them. There was a lot of accidents. There was actually a real major, huge accident right in front of where I live. And I do live by a major street, not like a highway, but it's still like a very, active street. And it was a 10-car pileup right when they squared, like the day that they squared. And I know there was big news with, Mars and Neptune squaring when it first did the square back in 2022. So yeah, I'm kind of glad that Mars is moving out of these degrees and we get to finish up what he started earlier around October of 2022. Okay, and then from there we'll go to Wednesday, Mercury Day, and on this day, the moon ingresses to the sign of Capricorn. And this is the day that the Sun and Neptune perfect their conjunction. So the day before, the Sun and Neptune had not formed an exact conjunction, but they were very close within a degree in orb, so it was still very powerful. And we had, the other planets, like I mentioned, activating it. But Neptune and the Sun can be very fun if, again, we slow everything down. If we are more mindful, we make it more of a relaxed time, maybe listen to music, stimulate all the senses that way, do activities that involve using our imagination in all shapes, in all ways, in all forms, art, sculpting, painting, composing, writing poetry, just being very disconnected from real bothersome or like day-to-day activities that kind of suck the life out of you, that suck the passion out of you. This is really not the day that you want to do that, because you really want to utilize this conjunction to tap into your spiritual side and evolve it more, and really recharge your spiritual intelligence, your spirit, your aura, your chakras, your body, like things that you cannot see but exists. This is a day. And really, if you want to do anything more than that, I really think that you'll get burnt out, because we do have the moon going into the sign of Capricorn. So the mood is very dedicated on working towards a goal. However, the ruler of Capricorn is Saturn, and he's in Pisces. So he's also taking a little chill pill, making us do the work, but more internally, more inside, more in silence. I do advise that you wear a protection stone, such as a onyx or tourmaline, malachite, because during this time, your psychic antennas are going to be on, like it's like the psychic radio is on so high that you're going to also catch the emotions, the feelings, everything, the fears, the phobias, the happiness, the joy, the compassion, the love, the terror, the anger of everyone around you. And this is everyone just kind of feeling. So the moods are going to be just turned up a huge notch. And by wearing a protection crystal, saging, using any other type of cleansing tool that's your favorite method, I'm getting called to say this, using tuning forks and sound bowls. So actually clearing with sound. This is going to be really good during this week, because this is also going to help you establish healthy boundaries, so you won't become overwhelmed with kind of everyone's emotions. And because it's going to be very porous, very like also mesmerizing, where you don't even know that this is happening, but it's happening. Especially all you that are empathic and sensitive to others' emotions. This is going to be a very, very turn notch day. So imagine yourself, if this is happening to you on, anytime this week, imagine yourself turning down the dial, and think of this dial that's turning down all this overwhelm and overflow of feelings, emotions, and just turn it down to like a 3. So like that, it's not a 10, and it's not letting you concentrate or actually focus. You're actually turning it down so you can focus, but you still want to hear what's going on, right? So you don't want to turn it all the way off. So that was the 15th. That's pretty much the biggest aspect that I see this week. But on the 16th, the aspects continue. We have Mercury making a conjunction to Neptune. So again, very porous, again, spiritual, like it's just, again, a repeat. It's still going on. And this is a day Mercury triggers that 25 degrees. So it's on the 16th. Then the sun in Pisces makes a square to Mars. And this is a day that it forms an exact square. And then on the same day of the 16th, Venus enters into a square, or perfects that square with Pluto. So Pluto's kind of touching base with all the planets pretty much. And he's at 29 degrees. So before he goes into the sign of Aquarius next week, he's forming some aspects with some planets. And Venus squaring Pluto, again, it's very deep, very felt on the cellular DNA level. And Venus is needing to heal with love, needing to heal something within you so that you can take your power back. But there are some challenges that come with this square, where it might not be the thing you wanted to do. You're exhausted. You're like, I've been feeling everyone's emotions. Now I have to go deep and do some shadow work. And I didn't want to do this week. Really plan to take it easy. And this is why I jumped on and I said, you know what? Let me come back and do a podcast this week, because it's going to be a very, very I think it's beautiful, a very beautiful week. I like spiritual stuff, but we're going to need a lot of grounding. So make sure you're focused, you're grounded. Get a stone that grounds you. Malachite grounds me. I really like malachite. Another one that would be good would be a stone connected to your root chakra. So that would be any red stone like red jasper. And another one would be green aventurine. That's very grounding to me, but it's very soft in its grounding. So whatever stone you work with that brings you that grounding feeling, work with it. Work with it this week. And then Venus, after making that square to Pluto, goes into the sign of Taurus, and it gains some dignity. So what this means is, after working deep within ourselves and facing our shadow, or facing the situation that came up with a friend or family member that you're like, that happened such a long time ago, I don't want to talk about this again, and it came up and you dealt with it, or you avoided it, whatever was the best for you. When Venus goes into the sign of Taurus, she is born into her ultimate archetype, where she sits in bliss and she's ready and prepared to receive from the universe, just like the Empress card in the tarot deck. Venus is at her best expression in the sign of Taurus. So do the work, whether it's you just journaling at home, or you calling a friend and making amends, or they calling you and you answering it so you can solve things, or even with a partner. Just do the work. You'll see it pays off. And then from there, we end on the 16th with Mars and Mercury making a square to each other at 26 degrees. Mars in Gemini and Mercury in Pisces. And this is road rage. This is confusion. This is not seeing things too clearly, acting too harshly. So you'll also see the world around you act like that. Again, I've been saying this throughout the podcast. This week's just going to be out of this world a little. And we move on to Friday the 17th, St. Patrick's Day. And the moon moves into the sign of Aquarius that day, and it has the shortest void, of course. It's only 11 minutes, so it's very active before it goes into Aquarius. And on the 17th, the Sun and Mercury form a cazimi at 26 degrees, 34 minutes at 3:44 a.m. And I'm actually really excited about this conjunction because it's happening exactly on my sun. And yes, the 17th happens to be my solar return, and it's very close to my natal sun as well. It's only 4 minutes off. So very exciting for me, even though the rest of the aspects seem a little bit challenging, but again, they're separating. So I'm hoping that, I do some work this week so I can make sure I prep myself very well for the next year. I'm also doing my solar return ritual, and I have a post on this on my website, so check that out. If you're on YouTube listening to this video, I'll link it so you can go to the post, and I give you a handout on what to do on your solar return so you can make the best of it. It's a little birthday ritual that I do for myself. So check that out. And then we end the day with Venus forming a sextile to Saturn at 1 degree Pisces, and Venus at 1 degree Taurus, which is quite beautiful because Saturn and Venus are friends and they're in very fertile signs. So this could be a time where you can plant a new seed, nurture it to life, foster it. This could be a project, right? You're planting an idea, an action, and then you're nurturing it to growth. But again, slow and steady and determined, just like Saturn likes it, and very beautiful dedication to the project, just like Venus requires. And then on Saturday the 18th, we have the mood of the day being the moon in Aquarius, forming a waning crescent. And we have Mercury forming a sextile to Pluto at 29 degrees 55 minutes. So just before Pluto moves out again, he's like touching base with all the planets, and he won't make a sextile, square, opposition, conjunction to any of the planets in Capricorn for a few more months, because he'll be in Aquarius, and we start a new stage in our evolution, in our life, in our awareness, which is very exciting. Shortly after that, Mercury goes into the sign of Aries, where he is ready to go. It's like he just tore off that blindfold and he is now running on full speed, sharp. He sharpened his senses. I like to think of this transit of Mercury in Aries like the scientific explanation of extra sensory abilities and heightened senses. Like some people that are, they could be blind and they have very good hearing, beyond average hearing. And that's because they hyper focused and sharpened that sense. They have one of the senses that is not functioning as well for them, but they have other senses that are way more stronger than an average person that has all their senses working to whatever condition, because we all vary in our talents. So I think of Mars in Aries as hadn't sharpened his senses in the sign of Pisces by navigating in a place where he's not as comfortable, can't see as clearly. And when he is in the sign of Aries, he's ready to go, he's sharp, he's fired, he's speaking his truth, he's saying everything he needs to say. And Mercury finds joy in the first house, which is associated to Aries. So even though, you can hear some astrologers say that Mercury doesn't have great dignity in Aries, I beg to differ. I feel that these people that have Mercury in Aries, they can be very direct and to the point. They're not big BSers. And, some people like that and some people don't. But I prefer that. I prefer people to give it to me straight. And I don't like, this like fluffing up of conversation. I'm blunt, I'm direct. Just tell me. So, and I'm a native with Mercury in Aries. So there's no surprise why I like that communication style, but I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea. So it's okay though. So that is what happens on the 18th, which is Saturday. And then we end the week on Sunday with the moon going into the sign of Pisces, which is the archetype that we've been focused on all week. So very heavy in disconnection and going the depths and digging deep, in seeing with our hearts, in embracing life with a different viewpoint, and fostering compassion within us, and also sharing this tremendous love to other people around us. And that is it. Now, the crystal of the week is aquamarine. And yeah, there's gonna be a lot of disconnecting this week, but aquamarine has very clear channeling, and it opens our intuition, it sharpens it. It helps us ground this intuitive energy. You can wear this as a gemstone. So if you have an aquamarine ring or pendant, I have both because this is my birthstone. So I'm definitely going to be rocking aquamarine this week. I also have an aquamarine tumble, and I have a big centerpiece. So yeah, I'm gonna make sure that I light a little candle next to my aquamarine centerpiece to really align with this very intuitive, spiritual energy. So aquamarine is also a very wonderful stone to meditate with. It, like I said, it opens your intuition, and if you use it in meditation, it's going to mirror ourselves back to us, and it's going to reflect things that we need to work on. It's going to reflect things that we've worked on and accomplished already, and making them aware to our consciousness, so we can really embrace our journey. We can really be thankful for our journey. A lot of us do a lot of work, and day-to-day grind, the normal routine do not allow us to reflect back and say, wow, look how much I changed, how much I've grown, and how much I love my life with all these new beautiful growths that I made. So yeah, use a stone like this to help you reflect that, so you can really foster this energy to positive and tune into the intuition, and maybe get major downloads that are very inspiring for you and meaningful for you. So I really thank you for being here. And again, your energetic support is much appreciated. So if you're catching this on the podcast, a review would be appreciated. If you're catching this on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and comment below. I always respond. Thank you so much. Have a great week, and I'll check you guys out later. Goodbye.